Welcome, ladies and gentlemen of the spy world. Welcome to your first video on reconnaissance. We are going to talk about the Kennedy and Johnson years in this video set. We'll also talk about civil rights. And again, these are all going to match the readings that you will see in your book. So let's go ahead and get right to it. Johnson and Kennedy they're going to start in 1960. Again, Kennedy, the election of 1960 is going to be between JFK, shown here on the left, and between Richard Nixon, shown on the right. Richard Nixon was Eisenhower's vice president, and so he had done a pretty good job of building his own reputation, and so he's going to run for president once again in 1960 against JFK. Now, JFK is a little bit of an oddball for a number of reasons. First is that he was the youngest president ever elected. Teddy Roosevelt was the youngest president to ever serve. He was 42 when he took over, but JFK was the youngest ever elected when he was 43. His charm, his youth are going to be very key to victory. Again, he's like this good-looking guy with a beautiful wife and great kids. And again, people are going to kind of look to them, this first family, as the pinnacle of the American dream. So they are also so his charm and his youth are going to be very key to his victory. There was one major concern about his Catholicism. No president had ever been Catholic, so that was the first time. Him getting elected is going to be the first time that ever happens. As I said, Nixon is going to win the Republican nomination. In class, we'll go over, I'll show you the televised debate between these two guys, or at least a little clips of it. And this is the first televised debate in history. And this is a very big key to JFK's victory. So he's going to use the television. He's going to use his charisma, his charm. He'll actually look at the camera while he's talking, which I'm sure annoys you guys sometimes when I don't do that. And Nixon doesn't really prepare for this well. He kind of looks disheveled. He's sweating. He doesn't really think that the cameras are going to be that important. If during the debate, everybody who watched the debate said that JFK won, and then everybody who only listened to the debate on the radio said that Nixon won because Nixon was providing better answers. But JFK looked more confident. Again, he was able to win more people over that way. So JFK does win a very close victory over the vice president at the time, Richard Nixon. And again, here's our breakdown. You see that there was an independent by the name of Byrd that did win a number of votes in the South. But again, it was a really, really close. So let's talk about the Kennedy presidency. So from 1961 to 1963. All right, so first up, his domestic agenda. He called it the New Frontier. Okay, this is going to do a number of things. The first thing is it's going to aid the underprivileged. It's also going to do that in a number of ways, specifically by increasing the minimum wage. It's going to expand Social Security. So again, it's going to help out young people and old people alike. He also is going to start the Peace Corps. So the Peace Corps is going to send young Americans into third world nations. These are just nations that are struggling with poverty. And these are going to provide these young Americans rather are going to provide humanitarian assistance to these people, or to the people in these third world nations. And like I said, the goal of the Peace Corps is to help less developed nations fight poverty. I really like this quote here at the bottom. It says, "We stand today on the edge of a new frontier, the frontier of the 1960s, a frontier of unknown opportunities and perils, a frontier of unfulfilled hopes and threats." Again, this is during the Cold War, still going on. The space race is about to start. We'll get to that in just a second. But this is, again, he's talking about the new frontier, kind of exploring places that Americans have never gone before, namely the space program. All right, so Kennedy is going to make space exploration a priority for the United States. Again, Sputnik was launched very early in the 1960s, so Kennedy really makes this a major part of his program. He's going to increase funding for NASA. Again, NASA is founded during this time, and he's going to have just millions and millions of dollars thrown at it. So 1 month after the Soviet Union, again, the SU here, that means Soviet Union, and then so 1 month after the Soviet Union, the U.S. launched its first manned space flight. So they are going to actually launch the first man into moon. Man into moon, excuse me. The first man into space, I believe that was John Glenn, that was highlighted in the movie Hidden Figures. And JFK is also going to promise people to land a man on the moon. Now, that doesn't happen for a number of years after his death. He dies in 1963, and then on July 20th, 1969, Neil Armstrong becomes the first human to set foot on the moon. So, again, Kennedy's promise does happen, again, it eventually, but again, it was a number of years later after his death. Another really important aspect of Kennedy is the Supreme Court under Kennedy. There was a guy by the name of Earl Warren. He was the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, so he is the one in charge of the Supreme Court. He had a number of different really important rulings. The first one was one man, one vote ruling, and this is going to require state legislatures to reapportion districts so citizens would have equal weight. So that's a lot of really fancy words. Basically, what reapportion means is just redraw. So they had to redraw their districts so that, so basically there's a thing that these state legislatures would do. They would call it's called gerrymandering, and you'll learn more about that in government. But they would redraw their districts so that they would have more power in certain areas. So Earl Warren, he said that this was wrong. It's unconstitutional, and it still does happen to some point today. But as long as the citizens of the district, like their districts, have equal weight in any state, then it's okay. So that's the first one. The second one was the due process. This means that all people are treated the same by the court system. So we'll have a number of different ones that are under him. This is in your notes, so you guys have that. Again, we have just a number of different ones. So we have civil rights ones here, Brown versus Board of Education, Baker versus Carr, we just talked about. Again, a couple other important ones. Gideon v. Wainwright is really important. Miranda v. Arizona, if you ever heard you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be held against you in a court of law, so on and so forth. That is the Miranda ruling was directly related to that. They said that basically what happened was the police officers didn't inform this person, Miranda, of his rights, and then he incriminated himself. And then Earl Warren and his Supreme Court decided that was unconstitutional, the way that that person, Miranda, was not given his Sixth Amendment rights. So again, really a lot of really important stuff happened under him. Again, we'll go over this a little bit more in class as well. Okay, so Kennedy visits Dallas. So he decided to visit Dallas for political campaigning. He was killed during a motorcade on November 22nd of 1963. He was struck by one bullet. I believe it was somewhere in the midsection, and then the second one killed him. It was a shot to the head. Now again, a couple of really important things that are vital here. First of all, he chose to be in an open car. He did not want to be in a closed car. He thought that would make him look weak or scared, and so he did not want to do that. He also did not have the appropriate security detail on at this time. Because again, he wanted to be a man of the people. We'll look at this more in class as well. But this is the people were very, very close to him. So anyway, the assassination itself. Again, you see him writing here. I'm pointing, you can see where I'm pointing. You can't. Okay. You see him riding in the car here with Jacqueline Kennedy, and then you see him kind of slumped over here. This is after one of the shots has been fired. All right, so the assassin, Lee Harvey Oswald was arrested for the assassination, and he was allegedly shot JFK from this Texas School Book Depository, which is this building right here. And this is literally what it says. There was just a bunch of school books in there. I don't know why they needed a whole building for that. But again, who am I to judge? So again, he is shooting from an area in this building, and as the motorcade was coming down the street, he was able to take 2 shots at him. Now, the Kennedy assassination is important for a number of other reasons. The first reason, again, here's Lee Harvey Oswald. The first reason is that 2 days later, on the way to to a trial hearing, or to a hearing about about the assassination, Oswald was killed by a guy by the name of Jack Ruby. Now, why that's interesting is because why would you kill why would you kill Lee Harvey Oswald before anything had come out about the assassination? It's weird because Lee Harvey Oswald never got a chance to speak. He never got a chance to say if there were other people involved in the plot. So when Jack Ruby, he was a nightclub owner and kind of associated with the mob, so when he kills him, it makes people think that the mob might have been involved in JFK's assassination, or at least other people might have been involved in JFK's assassination. Now, Lyndon Johnson, he commissioned Earl Warren to investigate this whole situation, and the Warren Commission report determined that Oswald alone killed JFK, that there was no other gunman. But we really don't know. Again, we really have no idea. You always hear things about the second shooter on the grassy knoll or something like that. Again, we have no idea if there was a bigger conspiracy behind JFK's assassination. Again, you see here again, and there's really this was all made public, where Lee Harvey Oswald was going to be. Again, you see the pictures coming up. The press was all right here, so he is being walked out right now. Here's Jack Ruby. Again, he walks up, shoots him. Again, you see a shot of him getting shot right now. And again, Jack, so we don't know. As soon as Oswald is dead, again, it leaves he was the only person that was associated with the assassination. Again, here we see during the funeral a very famous picture of John F. Kennedy Jr. Saluting his dad as the funeral procession is going by. And then we have President Johnson, or Vice President Lyndon Johnson, now being sworn in as president. You see his wife right here, again, very famously called Lady Bird Johnson. That was not her actual name. But anyway, this is very, very momentous occasion because, again, John F. Kennedy was loved by many Americans. He wasn't, to be honest with you, there was a lot of really negative things associated with John F. Kennedy. Again, we talked about the Bay of Pigs invasion, the Cuban Missile Crisis, stuff like that. But also, he might have just been unfaithful to his wife. There's a very, very famous rumors of him, being with Marilyn Monroe and cheating on his wife with Marilyn Monroe. So again, he's maybe not the best guy, but again, most Americans held him in high regard. All right, so just a couple more things. I want to go ahead and I got 2 more slides to finish up on Johnson's presidency. We'll call it for this video. So President Johnson takes over. He's going to finish up Kennedy's presidency and then run for 1 additional term. So the first thing I want to tell you about is what happened, kind of like the basis of Johnson's foreign policy. So this was a book called The Other America by Michael Harrington. And this is going to detail the 40 to 50 million Americans that were living in poverty. This is really important because it got the attention of John F. Kennedy and Lyndon B. Johnson, and this was going to be the basis for Lyndon B. Johnson's war on poverty. Okay, so not really much else to get there, but we're going to go ahead and start with his Great Society. So this is what he called his program. Again, he kind of modeled it after the New Deal from FDR's time. So this is his domestic program to cure the U.S., the Great Society. So this is going to try to increase economic and educational opportunities for all citizens. Again, Kennedy's program really tried to focus on the the lower class and then the elderly, but the Great Society is going to try to blanketly cover all Americans. During this time, he's going to create Medicare and Medicaid. Again, this is really tough for students to remember, but again, Medicare is going to be health insurance for the elderly. Medicaid is going to be health insurance for the poor. So you think you have to care for elderly people, and Medicaid you can just kind of assist people who are struggling. It is also going to expand Social Security, food stamps, and other social welfare programs. And it is going to try to cut poverty. It's going to improve healthcare, and it's also going to temper social injustices. Now, what that means is basically all of a lot of the problems that are going on with civil rights in America. The Great Society is going to try to fix those. So we'll get a lot more into that a little bit later in our next video series, or in our next video. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop there for now. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.